As we move on into our next part in learning Cebuano, which is verb conjugations and verbs, or using the correct affix to conjugate our verbs, I need to talk about aspect before we even move on to the conjugating of the verbs. Because aspect is something that you need to have an understanding before actually conjugating these verbs. Aspect, this whole video actually before is going to be all in English because most of you who watch this video are probably speaking English or from an English speaking area or actually know English and using English to learn Cebuano. So for all purposes, this whole video is in English. There is no Cebuano in here. Aspect is pretty much the subdivision of time, right? Subdivisions of time. So think about that. Subdivisions of time. Think about it first before I explain it. It's expressed in imperfected or perfectedness, right? So an imperfect or perfect aspect. You can think of it that way. So this should be giving out ideas of imperfectness. If an action happened and it wasn't perfected or imperfected, right? And it's also expressed via something that's been ongoing or completed, right? In this case, I also put incompletedness because it can describe incompletedness or completedness or how completed was it, how far along the timeline was it done, right? And specificity, like, oh, okay, certainty, it can express certainty, specificity, and distance to the time, right? Distance to the time. And all of this will make sense in this video with the chart I put here, right? Indo-European languages love to express their verbs in tense, right? But Cebuano, it being a Visayan language, or I guess in general being a Philippine type branch or Philippine language of the Malayo-Polynesian Austronesian language family, has this thing called aspect, and they conjugate and they look at their verbs in the face of aspect, right? Since most of you speak English or an Indo-European language, I'm gonna look at this through the time and then look at it through the aspect to help you understand aspect, right? Sometimes when we do a verb or when we're expressing a verb in conversation, right, it either happened today, yesterday, or tomorrow. Will happen tomorrow, right? So let's call those the past, the present, and the future, right? Because we don't know when this action happened or how long ago. We're just expressing an action, right? We can express it in the future tense, the present tense, or the past tense. And time, right here I wrote in tense because time is the tense it was done. Likewise, I wrote the arrows because time keeps moving. It is not a non-moving or non-stopping concept. Aspect is here on the top. I only wrote like a few little aspects, but there's so many more. These are just like common ones that I can think about with English and other Indo-European languages combined. But of course, aspect continues on and on because aspect can still divide time. They're the subdivisions of time, and the more that you can keep dividing time, the more aspects that you'll have. And I left these boxes blank because I wanted to show you what can be in these boxes when we pick a verb. So let's say I chose the verb to eat. Okay, to eat. And if I wanted to express it in the past, I'm going to be thinking about I'm going to be thinking about the verb to eat in the past, right? So let's talk about us. Let's talk about the first person singular, I, right? If I want to conjugate it in just a simple past tense, it's I ate. I ate. If I wanted to say that it was a continual aspect in the past tense, I would have to say I had been eating, right? I had been eating, right? Because it's a continual aspect. The verb was still ongoing, right? It was ongoing, but it happened in the past. So it's ongoing in the past. So I can express it as I had been eating. I had been eating an apple. It's not, oh, I ate an apple. It's I had been eating an apple. There's a difference. What's the difference? The perfectedness, right? I ate an apple is perfected. It's once and done. I ate it. It's already finished. But I had been eating an apple is showing imperfectedness, right? I used to eat an apple. That's also showing imperfectedness, right? I used to eat an apple. I had been eating an apple. It's imperfect because the action wasn't done. It was still ongoing and continual in the past. So that box can express I used to eat apples, I had been eating an apple, that kind of stuff, continual. Actually, habitual would be I used to eat whatever apple. But continual is I had been eating an apple. If I want to express this in the present tense, the simple present, right? I can say I eat apple. Or sorry, I eat an apple. I eat an apple, right? That's the present tense. But in the simple form, but with the continual aspect in this box, right? I want to say and express myself eating the apple as I was eating an apple. Because it's still ongoing. Like I am eating an apple. Or I was eating an apple. I am eating an apple. If I choose to say I am eating an apple, it's happening at the moment right now, continual. I am eating. You are in the process of eating as we speak. It is not perfected. It's still imperfected. It's not completed yet, right? Was it completed? No, because you're still in the process. It's still ongoing. I am eating. I am currently eating the apple. Am. But if I said I was eating an apple, we can slightly move that to the past or present. There's still some ambiguity, right? Because I was eating an apple expresses to us that you ate an apple, but it wasn't so long ago. Versus I had been eating an apple, which is much more long ago than I was eating an apple. So do you see how depending on the timeline where you are, there's an aspect to it. Even though you can express yourself in the past tense as I ate an apple, I had been eating an apple, I was eating an apple. They all represent the past tense. It just depends on the aspect now, how long ago in the timeline it was done. And that's something I want to bring up to you with aspect, this whole thing. Even though I used the yesterday, or I guess the past, I use the past tense as an example, the same works with the present and the future tenses, right? I'm not going to go into that because you get the gist, right? So future can express something in the aspect of will have been doing something, will be doing something, going to be doing something, will definitely be going to do something, will do something. See, there is perfectedness or imperfectedness or completedness or incompletedness of the action in the future tense. They all express the future, that's true, but it depends on what aspect you're going to choose. Same with the present, right? They all can represent a present tense. You can have a verb conjugated in the present tense, but can still have different aspect, right? For example, I am going to the store. I go to the store, which is simple and done. I go to the store. I will be going to the store. I plan on, or I intend, or I used to go to the store. See, there's some sort of incompletedness or imperfectedness or some sort of habitual or continual or simple action aspect that's playing a role in our tenses. That's the key thing that you need to know and understand, because Cebuano verbs conjugate through aspect, not tense. All right, we look at verbs through aspect, not tense. How do we express it through aspect? We express it through changing the verbs by adding affixes. And these are affixes that can be prefixes, postfixes, suffixes, circumfixes, infixes. They're just all affixes that change how we conjugate our verbs through aspect. So yeah, someone can translate to you a sentence and tell you what tense it is really easy, but they cannot tell you. It's going to be much more difficult to tell you what aspect it was. And that's just what this video is about, is showing you what aspect is and how it gets incorporated with conjugating Cebuano verbs.